Hey everybody, this is Ryan here with Nerd Cave Gaming, and today we're going to be talking about the new game that's being released in March 5th by Bungie. I'm exceptionally excited about it. It's called Marathon. It's going to be an FPS extraction shooter. It's being compared to games like Escape from Tarkov because the extraction shooter element, or games like Apex Legends because of some of the movement and the class-based system it has going around. I've also heard people comparing it to the finals. There's another game that I'm going to talk about in here that I think it looks kind of similar to, and I think is maybe the best comparison, but we'll get to that in a minute. For now, I want to announce our channel's first giveaway. We're going to be giving away a copy of Marathon to one lucky viewer. All you have to do to enter and potentially win is comment down below on this video. So please leave a comment down below. As soon as this video hits 500 comments, I know it's a big goal. We're hoping for the best. As soon as this video hits 500 comments, we're going to do a drawing. Uh, First 500 comments, only one comment per person counts. So I don't want you sitting here spamming 500. Give me the game, give me the game, give me the game. One comment per person. Uh, but yeah, as soon as we hit the 500, we'll do the drawing and we'll post who won, and we'll send you a copy of Marathon. And I'm hoping that we can hit that goal. If we do hit that 500 comment goal and we do get to go ahead and give away a copy of Marathon to somebody, we will also be doing another giveaway in our next video. So stay tuned. Even if you see this video and by some miracle there are the 500 comments already, just know that there will be another chance in the next video. Subscribe so you know as soon as it goes live, and you can throw your name in there as well. I do just want to limit the number of comments for the first one just so that everybody feels as if they have a real chance to win. Uh, and yeah, so let's go ahead and get into the actual content of this video, which is going to be us talking about some of the positives and negatives associated with the games that are being most frequently compared to Marathon. Among those are, of course, Escape from Tarkov and Apex Legends. The Escape from Tarkov comparison is pretty straightforward. It's an extraction shooter. Every extraction shooter is going to be compared to Escape from Tarkov. It's just kind of the extraction shooter that people think about, especially in the FPS genre. I know now we have Arc Raiders, but third person and first person are just entirely different worlds, in my opinion. Um, and we're going to kind of look at the issues in every single game that Marathon's being compared to, and whether or not I think Marathon's going to fix these issues, potentially create more issues, or whether we just don't even know yet. So I'm gonna start from the big picture and work my way down to a bit more narrow. First things first, as big of a picture as you can get, is it's Bungie. I mean, what else do you need to say? It's a huge company. They have a very exceptional reputation for when it comes to making games, specifically first-person shooter games. I mean, you think of Bungie and you think of Halo and you think of Destiny. Those are two exceptional games. I don't question for a moment that the gunplay is going to be up to par. I do have some other questions though. Um, but one thing I do just want to say is that I think the gunplay is going to be fantastic in this game. I think it's going to be an exciting game. I think there's going to be new mechanics that you're not used to seeing in an extraction shooter. I think that it's going to feel great to play. And I also think that Bungie has a pretty good track record for providing consistent updates to their games. So again, I'm excited. I think that some of the biggest complaints with Apex Legends and Escape from Tarkov is a lack of consistent updates or changes. Um, and I think that's something that Bungie might remedy just by being Bungie and doing what Bungie does best. Now, one of the biggest concerns that I've seen, and this was echoed a lot in the beta that people got to go and play, I believe it was Shroud that said, this game might be too simplified. One of the biggest drawing factors for players in Escape from Tarkov is that it's so difficult. I think Shroud called it this friction that is created by not knowing the game. You can play Tarkov for 1,000 hours and still feel like you're just doing the tutorial. I have 4,000 hours in Tarkov and I still make mistakes to this day. I still bring in something that I shouldn't have, or I still forget to bring in meds. I still forget to do these little things. Now, I think what Shroud is saying, and I understand in the friction, is that people like a game that they have a steep learning curve and that they can learn and play 1,000 hours and still feel like there's more to do. There's more to learn that they can get better at the game. Um, I think there's a fine line between friction and just inconvenience. Tarkov has both, and it has inconvenience and unoptimized aspects of it in abundance. I know they're always trying to improve Tarkov, and to be quite honest, I think 1.0 release has done a lot. I think they're continuing to do a lot of really great work on that game. I still love Tarkov and I still play it a lot. But I do think that there needs to be a differentiation between the friction that Shroud was talking about and pure inconvenience and annoyance, to be honest with you. Um, Now, when it comes to games like Apex, the first thing I think about are the interactions between legends and what that looks like in a game that is an extraction shooter. Um, in Apex, one of the biggest issues is every single season, the devs choose a new set of characters to just be extremely overpowered. It's typically characters who have a low play rate. It also just so happens to typically be characters that suddenly get new cosmetics or a new mythic weapon that they get to hold on that character. It's a crazy coincidence, but it just so happens that that's when those characters become overpowered. But what happens is the second that a character becomes slightly better than another character, or in this marathon's case, the second that a class becomes slightly better than another class, uh, the other classes start to feel useless, and there becomes a very, very clear meta. And in a game where it's an extraction shooter and every little advantage is going to count, more so than even a battle royale, um, I think that a very large focus is going to need to be on balancing, because if something is not balanced in this game, I can almost guarantee you that you will feel it immediately, and it's going to be a significant issue in the game. And the last thing you want is for them to have these really cool and interesting classes that could potentially lead to some very interesting gameplay and some level of interaction that we haven't seen in an extraction shooter before. But what it actually does is just make one meta class, and that's all you're ever going to see. And nobody wants to do that because nobody's going to enjoy that. Now, back on the topic of Bungie, when I think Bungie, I think of the two games I mentioned earlier. Those two games are Destiny and Halo, both exceptional games, both exceptionally focused on a crowd that is typically playing on a controller. Not saying you can't play Destiny or that you can't play Halo on a mouse and keyboard, but I'm saying that they are typically played by people who have consoles, and they're enjoyed by, I would say, more frequently, people using a controller. Now, I play on mouse and keyboard. Escape from Tarkov is obviously only mouse and keyboard. Apex Legends has a mix. Now, I think that the fact that Apex Legends has a mix actually is a problem in and of itself. It is the constant source of debate. Is MNK overpowered? Is controller overpowered? What are they going to do with aim assist? On and on and on. I'm very interested to see how Bungie tackles this. There is going to be crossplay. It's on the Steam page as crossplay capable. But what is crossplay gonna look like? Is it going to be crossplay that you can opt out of, where if you play on PC, you can choose not to play with people that are using a controller or on console? Vice versa? Is it going to be a situation where if you are on console, you can opt out of PC, but not vice versa? That's what Apex currently has. If you're on console, you can choose not to play with PC players, but PC players cannot choose to not play with console players. Um, that's a whole different debate in and of itself. And I don't really want to get into that or what I think is better or worse. My opinion doesn't matter. Everyone's opinion on this is going to be very different. and valid in their own way. Um, I just know that this is going to be a game that Bungie wants to have broad appeal. And for them to have broad appeal, they have to be targeting not just hardcore PC gamers or hardcore console gamers. They're going to have to do both. And if they would like to obtain that console market, they're going to have to allow controllers. And in what form that's going to look like, aim assist wise or other things, I'm not quite sure yet. I'm excited to see how they handle it. Um, I know that a lot of console players are not super thrilled about the concept of even having to play against PC players. I think a lot of that is typically because of the fact that with the integration of PC, inherently comes cheaters. I hate to be the person that says it, but it's true. If you're playing on PC, there will be cheaters. And that kind of leads me into my next point, which is how is Marathon and Bungie going to handle cheaters? Um, Apex, you die to a cheater in a game, you lose some ranked points or whatever, and oh, well, you just go again. There's not really much Apex does for you. You're just out of luck. Tarkov is actually the same way. Um, Tarkov, if you die to a cheater, every once in a while, if they get banned, you get some nominal amount of money back, which is not even enough to pay for your raid. I'll bring $1 million, million ruble kit into a map there, die with it, and get 20,000 rubles back 2 weeks later. It's basically nothing. Um, Now, cheating is exceptionally impactful in both games. Um, Tarkov tried to remedy that, but Tarkov has a live marketplace where people can make money doing RMT or the real money transactions through selling in-game items and things like that. And no matter how much Tarkov tries to fight it, it just still happens. And in a extraction shooter where surviving is already difficult enough, it really, really hurts to die to a cheater, and it just ruins the game experience. So I'm very interested to see how Bungie goes about this. Probably the best game I've ever seen, extraction shooter wise, handle cheaters uh, was the Cycle Frontier, and I don't mean handle them as in not have them. I think that cheaters are a very significant reason that the Cycle Frontier is no longer around. If you don't know what the Cycle Frontier is, it was what I believe was a fantastic game. It was an extraction shooter, a sci-fi extraction shooter, but it unfortunately is not around anymore. It actually shut down its servers about it was 2 years, a little over 2 years ago, September of 2023. It was a really good game. That is actually the game that I compare Marathon to the most in my head from what I've seen, um, especially in the sense that Marathon is claiming that it has in-game content, which I think is something that is lacking in both Apex Legends as well as Tarkov. I know Tarkov just released 1.0 and it technically has the end of its story, but real in-game content, like what I'm expecting from Marathon, the closest thing I've seen to that in an extraction shooter was the Cycle Frontier, where they had drills you could call down to get rare resources or dungeons that you could do. If there's one developer that I think can do a good dungeon or boss fight and with rare loot, my money's on Bungie. They've shown that they can do that with games like Destiny, and I'm very, very excited to see what they do in this game. I would love a game where bringing your best gear in really feels like you get a benefit out of it. You do to some extent in Tarkov, but if someone's running good ammo in Tarkov, it really doesn't matter what gear you bring in. So I'm really excited to see what Bungie does as far as the in-game content that they're claiming is going to be available in this game. That's something that I'm very, very excited about. But like I said, so back to the anti-cheat. The cycle had an anti-cheat, didn't work very well, honestly, and cheaters plagued that game. However, the cycle was also a free game. So I think the fact that Bungie is making Marathon not free in and of itself is going to reduce the number of cheaters. I'm not sure if they'll have two-factor authentication or anything else, but just the fact that it's not free and every time you get caught cheating, you're going to have to buy the game again. that's in and of itself an anti-cheat. Um, the next thing that I think is important is going to be how they reward, I don't wanna say reward, how they compensate players who die to a cheater. Like I said, if you die in Tarkov or Apex, it's just, "Oh, you're out of luck, that really sucks." I remember the cycle, if you died to a cheater and they got banned, you got your whole kit back from that raid. I'm not sure how they did that. They must have had a rolling log of everyone that went into games and what gear they lost, and if it was to a player that was banned, bam, you got all of your kit back in your inventory in a little mail message that said, "Hey, we banned a cheater, here's your stuff." I think that was exceptional. It doesn't feel any better about the raid that you died on, but you definitely feel better when you get your kit back. And it's not like Tarkov where you could bring your best kit in and you could have someone fly across the map and kill you through a wall, and then you just never get anything. That really sucks. Um, Now, another thing I wanted to talk about, and this is kind of more so brought about by Arc Raiders recently, is what kind of matchmaking are we going to have? I know that what I've seen from Marathon has shown that they obviously are not as against PvP as Arc Raiders has recently come out to seem to be, at least. I know that Arc Raiders has its aggression-based matchmaking that they've come out and talked about, and if people want, they can just never kill anybody and be in PvE lobbies, and if you wanna fight, you can be in PvP lobbies. I think that kind of artificially segments your game, similar to Tarkov, how they have PvE and PvP, and it's kind of diluted the player base. I think that I understand the reasoning for the aggression-based matchmaking and that they wanna make everybody happy. Um, I don't really wanna see that. I want to have a wide range of players throughout the game, so you never know what you're gonna get. I think that's what makes, the I don't know what to call it, but it's this level of tension in a game in an extraction shooter that I really think you need. That you never know what's around each corner. If you can confidently stroll through the game knowing you'll never be shot at by another player, I think that loses a bit of that. But again, I just wanna see what kind of matchmaking are they gonna put in this. Is it going to be like Tarkov where you literally have no matchmaking? You can go into one raid and fight Landmark, and then the next raid, you could be fighting a bunch of level 10s. You just never know. Is it going to be, like, aggression-based matchmaking? That's probably the farther extreme here that we have with Arc Raiders. Or is it going to be something just standard matchmaking, maybe level-based, maybe gear-based matchmaking? I truly don't know, but I'm very interested to see how it is, especially because, like I said, Bungie's going to have to some degree, cater to casual players, and it makes sense. But typically catering to casual players, um, includes some sort of kind of sheltering the average or below average player from the above average player. I think that typically frustrates certain players more than others. I know that in Apex, it is a point of contention there as well, where you have a ranked mode that is essentially keeping players in the same level bracket. Um, but then you also have pub matches where you should be able to just play anybody, but they also very aggressively regulate the pub matches as well. I know at one point in time, it was actually my ranked matches were easier than my pub matches, and that was just a weird experience to have. Um, but yeah, so with all of that being said, those are kind of my main points that I was worried about with this game with Marathon. It needs to have depth to it, but it still needs to be user friendly enough to get casuals to come in. And I think that's a very hard line to toe, but I genuinely think that if someone's gonna be able to do it, Bungie is going to be able to do it. That's why I'm so excited for this game. I think that balancing is going to be absolutely crucial and integral to this game. Another example of a game where balancing was an issue at the beginning is a game called The Finals. Very different. It's not a battle royale, and it's not an extraction shooter, but there are classes in that game too. And I when I first started playing it, there were light, heavy, and medium, and I can't remember which one was the most overpowered at first, but there's been cycles where they were all overpowered at some point, and it genuinely made running the other classes feel useless. And that doesn't create exciting or engaging gameplay. It just creates continuous run the same meta or lose, and that nobody enjoys that. Now, I do think that the potential for Marathon is a game that supports a variety of play styles with this class-based system, if done correctly, that gives you true in-game content and reasons to run your best gear, and you can go into a raid and not just instantly die to a one-shot bullet like Tarkov, even if you're running your best gear. Um, and I think that in-game content is something that's truly lacking in Tarkov that this game could potentially have. Um, I've seen the new video documentary that Bungie has put out. If you haven't seen it, I implore you to go watch it. It's great. I'll probably have clips of that going actually in the background of this video. They offer significant gun customization. They heard people's complaints about a potential lack of depth in the beta, and they seem to have really taken that to heart and fixed that potentially. Their PvE is said to have a real level of difficulty to it. I don't doubt that, given Bungie and their history and their making of Destiny. Um, yeah, and, again, I just really I think there's a lot to look forward to in this game. I think there's a lot more to look forward to than to worry about, which has me very excited. Um, and like I said, my biggest comparison in with all of these games was really the cycle. I think that the cycle is most similar to Marathon from what I've seen, and I think that Marathon, just in being run by Bungie and being created by Bungie has kind of solved one of the main problems with the cycle was that the cycle was put out by a smaller dev team. It was put out free, so the cheaters ran rampant in that game. It's hard to get cheaters out of a free game because you can ban them, but they'll be right back in 20 minutes with a new account. So the fact that Bungie is charging for the game, the fact that Bungie is a large developer who has the resources to continually update and handle bigger problems like cheaters, we're never going to get rid of them. They're just, they're miserable people that feel they need to cheat, and that's their own problem. But Bungie is going to be more equipped to handle them than the Cycles devs were. Um, and I do think that it's taking some of the best things of the cycle, which is it looks like good gunplay, but also this in-game content and PvP aspect, and really putting it into a more refined package that I'm very, very excited about. So with that being said, that'll be the end of this video. If you stayed to the end, thank you so much. Do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Seriously, don't forget to comment. If you stayed all the way to the end of this video, you definitely deserve a chance to win a copy of this game, and I appreciate you. So please drop a comment down below. Get your chance to get a copy of this game before it comes out. Um, I appreciate every one of you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.